Alright, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So by the time this video is out, there should be a proper channel update on the channel now. So if you want to know what's been happening, what stuff's coming to the channel, stuff like that, go watch the channel update, because I'm not going to get like too much into that before we dive back into Akane-Banashi here. But the TLDR version is we're back. I took a small break to kind of do some stuff, get some upgrades done. As you can see, I finally hung up some of the posters I've had, art posters I've had sitting in my office to kind of liven up the space a little bit. Especially on this one, you can judge me all you like, because I'm debating whether to put that one up or not. But yeah, I think it gives the office a little bit of color. I really like it. But yeah, with that said, I'm excited to dive back into regularly scheduled programming, so to speak. So like I mentioned in the channel update, we're going to be doing 3 new series on the channel starting today. Or at least 2 of them will be starting today. The other one I might wait till next week, just because I have other plans today. But we're going to be starting to cover Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle, Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer, and Kaoru Bride Stories as the next 3 channels we're covering on this series. For next 3 series we're covering on this channel, so look forward to that. I also want to thank everyone for helping me reach my current subscriber goal of 169. I think we're 170 right now. I've been meaning to hit that goal for a while now, and it's been kind of a struggle to get there. But I really appreciate everyone that's helped me along to reach it. It really does mean a lot to me, and I really do appreciate everyone's love and support with regards to that. So thank you all very much. So yeah, I'll set out a new goal sometime once I think about what the next funny number I want to reach will be. But in the meantime, as always, if you like this content, please continue to tell people, let you know that might also like it. Please continue to, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And then one more minor thing before we dive into the chapters of Akane-Banashi here. So I always encourage everyone to leave comments on videos, even if it's something that disagrees with me or is, contrary to whatever opinion I had on a certain chapter, content, whatever. But there's a major pet peeve I have, and I would like for you all to avoid it. If you want to have like an actual, conversation back and forth kind of thing with me. And that's prefacing any kind of conversation or any kind of comment you have with anything that's like, oh, this is just my opinion, or, maybe I don't have high expectations for the story, stuff like that. That's the one thing that is guaranteed to piss me off and most likely make me delete your comment and just ignore the ever-loving shit out of you, is if you leave a comment like that, because there is nothing more condescending to me than when people leave a comment and then put a little like, oh, but that's just my opinion, or like, oh, maybe it's because my expectations weren't so high that I didn't enjoy the story. If you enjoyed the story and I didn't, I'm not saying like you're wrong or you're stupid for liking the story, whatever, anything like that. Like, I'm happy to have a conversation about what exactly you liked about it. Maybe you saw something I didn't that made you like the story more than I did. I'm absolutely happy to get into conversations like that. But when because the one thing I used to get criticized a lot for, and that's the reason it still rubs me the wrong way, is when people pull the whole like, oh, your expectations were too high, this and that, because it always made me feel like, I somehow wasn't getting my thoughts across coherently, or there was something lacking in my criticism. And it took me a long, long time to kind of get my mindset out of that idea, like, that my criticisms sucked, or that I wasn't like analyzing the work properly, things like that. So for me, as soon as I see someone doing that, it just screams to me that you didn't really listen to what I said or didn't really understand what I was saying. And so if you leave a comment like that, like, don't. All right, it'll just piss me off to absolutely no end. And we're not going to have a productive conversation with that. I'll probably do that in the next channel update video. I should probably have mentioned that then, but I forgot to do that. But yeah, please, like, I absolutely encourage leaving comments. I absolutely encourage ones that, even if it's completely contrary to my opinions on the series that I posted in the video. But if you post anything like that, I am not going to engage with you. Just FYI. But yeah, with that said, even though, I found the last arc lackluster, I'm really looking forward to where the series is going to go from here with the new stuff. So let's dive into it with Akane-Banashi Story 74, the Shikisai Festival, with story by Yuki Suinaga, art by Takamasa Moe, translation by Stephen Paul, lettering by Sneer Aran. And you have, it's been 5 days since the election round, or the selection round. Time flies so fast. Apparently it's quite the hit. And I must thank you for lending us your expertise. Of course, you have Rakugo supervision by Keiki Hayashiya. You have Gakumon Sensei, which is a little mustachioed comedian guy who's having, I assume that's sushi, with Iken. And he goes, I have to say I'm surprised that your only recommendation for Futatsume was the young man who went first. And Iken's like, well, first of all, I cannot recommend my own pupils. Excuse me. And breaking with custom to lift a second-year student to Futatsume tends to draw and he's just thinking of Kaisei when he's saying this, tends to draw disapproval from other folks. And he sees the Rakugo Federation with like the guy with like the spiky white hair and the glasses, serious-looking dude. He's like, if we want to give them something to celebrate, they have to achieve the appropriate results first. And Gakumon, is it Gakumon? Yeah. Goes second and third place aren't good enough. And he goes, getting to be a special exception is the privilege of the winner. I base my judgment on career and skill. Simple as that. And he goes, both of them certainly have the ability to make Futatsume. They'll do it sooner or later. A rather conservative view coming from Arakawa. Oh, sorry, that was Iken that was saying that before the whole both of them have the ability. He's like, I don't like taking unnecessary risks is all. And Gakumon's like, that last performance of the selection round really took me back. It reminded me of the style that even a younger Isho couldn't inherit before he became the dominant figure he is today. For an instant, I thought I caught a glimpse of the art of Shinoji. A Rakugoka like her will bring unruly times back to the Arakawa school, I think. But feel free to ignore me, commenting as one of the other folks. Now, as he's stepping out, Iken's like, where are you going? It's like, if you're not going to celebrate a good performance, I suppose that'll be my job. It's like, if you're in that festive of a mood, you should go to Osaka Tenmangu Shrine tomorrow. The Shiguma school is having a festival. And you see just like a row of like festival vendors all laid out on the side. As you have a sign for Yakitori. And Akane has a little box with Takamiya cabbage and goes, wow! Like, there's so many people! I didn't know it was such a large festival. And Goriko's like, really? You didn't come last year? It's like, no, it was athletics day at school. And you have the Shiguma school in the neighborhood of Tenjincho teamed up to create the Shikisai festival. It's like, it's no surprise that it blew up. And he's like, I didn't realize you could just collaborate with the whole neighborhood. He's like, well, of course, it's where Tenjincho himself lives. He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, that's Master's nickname. Majoro Kashiwagi, Kuromoncho, all the great masters used to be known by their neighborhood as shorthand. As the times changed, that practice turned into the current Arch 4 moniker. But many of his longtime fans still refers to Master as Tenjincho. He's like, hence the collaboration. And then one of the vendors is like, well, tomorrow's the big day. And as Akane's looking around, all vendors like getting ready, setting their stalls up. You have signs for takoyaki and chocolate bananas. And she looks despondent for a second. And Goriko notices and goes, so listen, tomorrow's the festival, and that means there's just one thing for us to do. As apprentices of Tenjincho himself, we've got to make this festival a hit. He's like, indeed, we'll entertain the crowd with some good old Rakugo. He's like, that's not good enough. He's like, not good enough? He's like, what is it that really makes the Japanese festival come alive? That's right, it's food stands. He's like, huh? He's like, so we're opening a classic yakisoba stand tomorrow. You chop the cabbage. He's like, what? He's like, we? That includes me. Why are we? He's like, you never learn. He's like, Kokoma Ani-san. And Akane's like, thank goodness you're here. Kuriko Ani-san says we're doing a yakisoba stand. It's like, I know, it's outrageous. Yakisoba is so cliche. Akane's like, what? Ani-san? It's like, there's always more to learn and apply. The food stand culture that arose from the post-war black market, the increasing focus on the visual appeal of your food, the products being sold by competing vendors, familiar foods that harken back to the classic cultural experience of a summer festival. Taking all of these factors into account, one must conclude that candied apples are the only way to go. And you see Kogumani-san, and you see a sign behind it going candied koguma apples. And you have Hakushu Kashiwaya. And Kuriko's like, can you say that without even tasting our yakisoba first? It's like, stop you guys, why are you so competitive? It's like, huh? What was that sound? And you have, my only redeeming feature is my diligence. I dedicate my all to the skewer. You might call me stubborn, but for the sake of your satisfied smile, I've spent 3 years on skewers and a lifetime on chicken. They call me Yakitori Kyoji. And he's got these two, I think it's the two from the bar, just like flanking him with his little sign. He's like, he got the two from Umi. He's like, what was that speech? And he's like, you seem shocked by this, Akane-Banashi. Oh, is that Maikaru who's now showing up? He's like, but the apprentices of the Shiguma school always run their own stands and compete to earn the most. It's a Shikisai festival tradition. He's like, entertainer stands. He's like, Maikaru-san? He's like, nah, I'm Michael now. My fucking Christ. Of course. Motherfuckers dressed like Michael Jackson. He's like, nah, I'm Michael now. Owner of the Maikarute Exhibition Sideshow. This guy run this kind of business. Like, pics from last, and you see just a bunch of women just like throwing him up in the air. It's like, what kind of business is this? And Maikaru's like, so, how long are you going to be in this funk, Akane-Banashi? It's like, I won't repeat myself. And she thinks back to him saying, like, he's right, of course. If you're going to be an entertainer, you need to put your all into the enjoying and giving enjoyment. And he's like, bring it on! If we play along, we're playing to win! And you have the festival stand battles begin next chapter. Ah, man. Alright, so as like a transitionary chapter, like cool down chapter from the previous arc, this one was a lot of fun. So as usual, I'll go from the beginning to the end with kind of thoughts and everything on that. So first of all, I like that we're getting a little bit more into like the inner politics of like Rakugo and everything that's going on with Gakuen and Niken's conversation, where he's like, you know, how come you only recommended the first guide for Tatsume? And he's like, well, you know, I can't just recommend my own pupils. It'd be like voting for myself. And we've already talking about like how Kaisei's kind of like the dark horse or like the black sheep, where he's like, you know, he's rising up too quickly and you kind of promote him too quickly up the ranks, or also like dry the ire of like the hardcore, like the hardliners, where like, you know, there's tradition to follow, there's steps you have to go through, stuff like that. So that was really interesting. I'm hoping we find out more about the other two Rakugo guys, like what their whole deal is in the next stuff, but a little bit of intrigue set up with that. But yeah, apart from that, I'll have to go back and reread the last arc to see if they mention what the Art of Shinoji is, just to kind of like get my thoughts around. I think reread will also kind of help me cement my thoughts on last arc and stuff. But right now, I still think it's like the weakest parts of these chapters are where they're referencing Hakane's, you know, performance, and they're talking about like how, you know, like despondent and like let down she looks by the fact she lost. Again, I wish I was more emotionally invested in that. I wish I kind of felt her sadness and like her depression at like having lost, like having failed to live up to her father's standard, like make his art be recognized and things like that. But it just didn't land for me. So a lot of these moments are kind of just falling flat in this chapter as well. Like I mentioned, rereading it might help me kind of get like a greater appreciation for it, but we'll see what happens with that. Apart from that, again, I really like the way the art is done for like the street festival stuff. I think it really kind of captures the feeling of really being there, like the festivals. So again, exceptional artwork all around. And then again, of course, we had a little bit more history with like the, you know, the masters used to be called by the nicknames of their neighborhoods. I like those. I like the little details that we're getting like Rakugo interspersed throughout with the history of, like, the art form, like what it used to be like, stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. And again, I think the thing I like the most about this is it feels like it's so out of left field to be like, oh, the Rakugo are opening their own food stands. Like, well, what the hell does that have to do with Rakugo? Is this going to be just kind of like a filler chapter or arc, so to speak? But I think this is, again, going to be a lot like when Akane was doing her bar training. I think the point of this, apart from, like, showing, helping Shiguma kind of show support for his neighborhood, having his apprentices help out, like show the appreciation for all the support and stuff like that, is it's as, as Koguma saying, like, the food stand culture that rose from the, post-war black market, what kind of foods are being sold, why, when, where, stuff like that. Like he pointed out when Akane is, like, doing the research for Jugumo, he's like, there was a reason why that they were given the long names. There's a history behind, the stuff like this. And if you understand the history behind these stories, like the cultural importance behind these stories and these times, will kind of inform your art and make you a better storyteller because kind of the intent and purpose behind it, right? Rather than just kind of like regurgitating it, you kind of understand, like, the reasoning and importance behind certain stories, why they're told this way, why they've kind of been included into, like, the cultural lexicon, stuff like that, why they've been carried down all these years. So I think that's part of it. Is like, all right, like the different foods, tells them about learning about the different foods that are being served, things like that. You learn, like, the history of this place. And I think the other thing is also, like, back again with the bar stuff, where Akane is kind of like, I have to kind of anticipate a customer's need. I have to kind of see what they're looking for, what they want, stuff like that. Be able to kind of read their expressions, give them the optimal kind of experience that they're looking for. I think this is, again, training for this because, again, if you're doing a stand competing with a bunch of other stands for the customer's attention, you're going to have to find ways to kind of lure them over to yours to, kind of sell your food and yourself to them, to be like, you should take a chance on us rather than, like, the multitude of other options you have. So I think that's kind of going to be a kind of a good distraction for Akane, for her to kind of, like, go back into thinking about, like, this is what Rakugo is about. Like, this is what the basics are. I have to kind of get back to that and kind of refine my technique and things. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to where this is going from there. So like I mentioned in the beginning, channel update and stuff has been out by now, so please do check that out for more details on what stuff's coming, where read-throughs are happening, things like that. Like I mentioned, I really do appreciate everyone that helped me reach my subscriber goal these past few days. It really does mean a lot. And as always, if you like this content, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll try to think of what the next subscriber goal I want to reach is, because I have a number in mind, but I feel like it's a little bit too of a high reach at this point, but we shall see. Like I mentioned today, more Akane will be coming up along with read-through videos for the new series, so look forward to that. And until next time, this is Ash. I'll talk to you all later.